Hey, how is everyone? There's my friend Kyler. Kyler, you got me? I'm gonna ask my friend Rick. Says we're live. Do you hear us? So before we just start going through stuff, yes, that's my Mountain Dew.
I do.
Cool. Well, look at Kyler entertaining us, welcoming us in with some wonderful music. So help me, okay? I'm kind of a newbie. My name's Derrick, by the way, and this is my friend Kyler. And then we also have our world famous engineer, webmaster, all kinds of media genius, Rick from Georgia, joining us today. In just a few minutes, we're going to invite in a guy from Ernie Ball, Joyce and Dejas. Excited to have him with us. And then we'll talk to a wonderful person from DR a little later on as well. Kyler, how's it going in Midland?
It's going good.
Everybody properly distanced and quarantined?
Yes, all my employees are voluntarily watching me on the TV outside.
At a safe distance. Do me a favor and help me figure this out. I'm looking at our Facebook page. If I don't know how to find the live stream, where do I find it?
It should just pull up automatically
Does it?
on just your regular Facebook news feed.
Okay. Well, I hope everybody, there it is right there. Look at us. Look at us go.
I'm checking my email real quick. I don't mean to be rude to the people, but we want to make sure that we get the right people on here for you.
Cool. So what we wanted to do today is I'm going to give them a little backstory so they know what's going on. I am historically a bass player. I've played bass for, I guess, man, I don't even want to say how long I've been playing bass now. A long time. And so Kyler and I kind of hang out together and we have a lot of fun and I play bass. But recently I said, Kyler, I want to learn how to play guitar. And he did not know what he was getting into. He was like, okay, cool. I said, can you help me? He said, sure. So he did not know that I'm one of those people that ask question after question. You vouch for that, Kyler?
I definitely vouch for that.
And so we've been through some pedal stuff. And now we're kind of working our way through strings and what that means. And so today, I just thought, if I have these questions, surely somebody else has questions. So I think the way we should start this, my friend, it looks like our friend from Ernie Ball is ready to join us. I'm going to go ahead and bring him in and kind of let him talk about Ernie Ball strings. And then we can kind of move on from there if people start to have questions, et cetera, et cetera. So let me see if I can let him in. Hey, sir, how are you?
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello, Joey.
I'm going to let you introduce yourself the way you want to. This is our friend Joyce and Dejas from Ernie Ball. And what we would love for you to do real quick, what we're trying to do is just answer questions about strings. And one of the questions that people have is obviously going to be brand related. We try to support a lot of different brands. I'm sure you can appreciate that. I wanted to give you the chance to talk specifically about Ernie Ball, what makes them different, what makes them awesome, and what people should expect and kind of look for when they're kind of digging into strings. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with Ernie Ball, we've been doing this since 1962. We've been around for a long time.
Right.
And, we're always trying to stay innovative when it comes to strings and creating tools for the artist. And I know how daunting it can be when you're going into a shop and you see a bunch of strings and you see all these different alloys and you don't know what they mean or how they can work for you.
That's me, brother.
I get it. I totally get it. So I hope that I can help you guys understand what these alloys can do for you and how they sound, how they affect your tone. So if you have questions, lay it on me or however you'd like me to start.
No, just roll in, man. Just tell us what you want.
So let's go ahead and start with the industry standard, right? Like a nickel wound. So everybody's familiar with slinkies, right? I've got a couple sets I'd like to show you guys, right? Cool. So these are the standard nickel wounds. These are actually some of the newer sets that we started offering recently. Primo slinkies, we came out with these last year, as well as the ultra slinkies. The Primo is a 9.5 through a 44 set. So we just recently started going into the half size gauges, and it's something that a lot of players have been asking from us for years. Now, when you go into half sizes, you think, well, how does that make a difference? Does it really make that much of a difference? It does. It does, especially if you're a longtime player. You start to understand how gauge affects your playability. You know, a half size, if sometimes a 10 is too much for you, and sometimes a 9 is not enough.
Right.
That's when the half sizes really come in, right?
Cool.
So we do these in our nickel wounds. And a nickel wound string is pretty much the balance. You know, you get enough brightness and enough warmth from a nickel wound. Now, when we talk about, let's say somebody has a nickel allergy, for example, well, you're pretty limited on options, right? Usually you have to go to a stainless steel string, which tend to be a lot rougher on your fingertips, and a very bright sounding string.
You ever say it's
not
brighter?
everybody wants that, you know? So what we have here, we do have some other options available. We have what's called cobalt. Now, cobalt is a soft feeling string, but it is more magnetic. So cobalt is going to give you a higher output, and it is going to be a brighter sounding string. So it'll cut through the mix a lot more than a traditional nickel wound string. And then we also have M steel. Now, M steel is another rendition of cobalt. It actually contains 60% more cobalt in the wrap wire. And then what we did is we went ahead and did something different with our core wire. So we're not using the traditional tin plated high carbon steel. We're using maraging steel for the core on these. Now what that does, it gives you better tuning stability, and it also gives you better bass response. For example, when you pick up a guitar that has single coils in it, single coils tend to lack in bass frequencies. So if you want to get a little bit more out of your single coils, you want to pair a set of these up with your single coils, and it'll really give you a lot more of that bass response back.
Beef it up a little, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. So whenever anybody's asking me about M steels, I'm always pushing them. Well, match it up with single coil, and you'll hear the difference.
Kind of take some of that thin out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Joey, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
So tell me this: as someone, I've had quite a bit of experience with, say, the Ernie Ball Slinky series, whether that's the super slinkies or the regular slinkies. If you're someone that likes those strings, but you want those to last longer, what does Ernie Ball offer that will accommodate that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So we have a couple of different things you can go with, right? So we do offer a coated string, and so that's going to give you a little bit more longevity. But we also have Paradigm. Now, Paradigm is basically a slinky. But what we do with this is we put it through a different treatment. It goes through a plasma bath. And what that does is it eliminates all of the impurities within the metal. So it gives the strings greater fatigue and tensile strength. So you can really beat the heck out of them. And they're going to be a lot more break resistant. We also put this through our Everlast treatment, the same treatment that goes through our coated strings. So again, that's going to help you get better longevity. It's going to repel all the oils, the natural oils that, you know, come off of the hands, especially if you're a player that sweats profusely, right? We all know people that do that.
Right.
We definitely do.
So yeah, if you want something that's going to last a lot longer, but not going to change the tone, if you already like your slinkies, try a set of Paradigms. If you want to get more life out of them, this is what I would recommend.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank
I
you.
got to tell you something, man, that I was a trumpet guy. I didn't start playing bass until like college. And it's always been awesome for me to walk in and I can look at Ernie Ball and go, regular slinky, I get that. Super. I understand the slinky terminology just by looking at the package. So I've always appreciated that if nothing else. Talk bass strings to us a little bit.
You know, the packaging for us, we've never changed it.
Right.
since day one. We've never had to, and everybody appreciates that. And you're right. When you walk into a shop, they're just there. They pop. They're super loud. You can't. There's no denying that's a Slinky on the wall.
Right. Can you talk bass at all? Your bass string lining?
I can talk a little bit about bass. Yeah.
Do it. I assume that the technology is going to be the same. It's just a bigger gauge.
Exactly. Yeah. So when we talk bass, right? So we have Slinky bass. It's a nickel wound.
Beefy.
Yeah. This is one of the newer sets, and we also have another set coming out called the Hyper Slinky. This will be coming out later this year.
You like name those for bass players, right?
Yep. So these are just standard nickel wounds. We also do a bass string in the Cobalt series. So if a bass player wants a little bit more brightness, right, a little bit more of a lively string, we have a Cobalt. We have a Cobalt option. But we also do a flat wound in the Cobalt series. We call this the Slinky flat wound. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Cobalt strings give you a higher output, right? So it's going to be a little bit brighter. Traditionally, a flat wound is very dark and thumpy or thuddy, right? These actually give you a little bit, or a lot more life rather. They kind of sound like round wounds. So if you have bass players coming in looking for something that's a lot more of a lively string in a flat wound, we've got it.
That's cool. I got to, this is a weird thing. And Kyler's actually laughed at me about this. I just have a tactile thing for me. The flat ones I've always felt weird. I've always been a round wound guy. But then I listen to the sound that those make, and I'm like, I really like the way that sounds. It just feels weird. And that's nothing that's nothing on the string. It's just, as a player, it took me a long time to come around to the flat wound. This is probably rudimentary for a lot of people. The difference between a flat wound and a round wound is
the wrap wire, basically.
Right. So what makes it flat versus the ridges that you feel on a round one?
So when we get our raw materials, right, we have a spool of wire, and most of the time our wire is rounded. And when we take a flat wound, the wire is a little bit differently. It's a flattened ribbon wire.
So it's a ribbon wire, right?
It's a ribbon wire, exactly. So what we do with this one is, first what it does is we do a round wound cobalt wire underneath. And then we go over that with the Cobalt ribbon wire. And then we polish it so that, it feels nice and smooth and it's very easy to play.
Cool. Awesome. What else do we need to know about Ernie Ball, my friend?
You know what? I would love to talk about acoustic strings real quick if we
do
have
it.
time.
No, this is whole thing. Do it.
All right, man. Yeah. So, we do offer a couple different alloys when it comes to acoustics as well. Most people are familiar with our Earthwood series, 80-20 bronze. We also offer it in a phosphor bronze. Now, 80-20 is going to be a brighter sounding string, whereas a phosphor bronze is going to be more warm sounding. So if you have a player that's coming in and they're looking for that tone, I want a brighter sound, 80-20. I want a warmer sound, phosphor bronze. Now, if they want something in between, well, we do aluminum bronze. And aluminum bronze is a different alloy. It's like a aluminum and copper blend. And this is the only acoustic string, the only other string that we make that also has the margin steel core wire in it. So, as I mentioned again earlier, that margin steel gives you more bass response. So, for example, if you have an acoustic that's a thin body acoustic, but you want it to sound big, aluminum bronze is going to do that for you. There's a lot more clarity, a lot more balance between warm and brightness with our aluminum bronze.
So when we're looking at the different alloys, we're basically looking at different tone.
Exactly.
Okay. So that would be the reason to consider one way or the other. It just my guitar just feels a little muted, for lack of a better. I don't know if that's the right word, but then maybe you use one of the brighter, the brighter 20
alloys. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And see if that brightens it up. Cool.
Yeah,
Tyler, you got anything?
Every player is different. Every instrument is different, right? So it's important to not get stuck on one particular alloy. I think it's very important for players to experiment and find what works best for their application.
Okay. You got anything, Kyler?
No. I think we went over everything I would want to know.
He answered all our questions where we asked him. Didn't he? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly.
Well, my friend, it's sure nice to see you. It's nice to have you with us, and thank you so much for everything you brought to the table today.
Thank you for having me.
You stay safe, man.
You too, guys.
Stay healthy.
Yeah. We'll have
All right,
you
brother.
on again, Joey. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. See you guys.
Cool. See you later. And just in time, we get to meet someone new today, Kyler. Now, she told me she doesn't want to use video. She's going to come and talk to us, though. And
I'll pull up her website if that's okay with you.
No, please do. And I missed a question. Rick, you're going to have to cut in. We had somebody wanting to know about larger gauges, so we'll find that out for him. You with us, Rosa?
Yes, I am. I was just on a different website. Sorry.
No, I'm talking about Miss Rosa. It looks like she's muted. I'm going to unmute her. Are you with us?
Hello?
Hey, there you are. How are you?
Hi. Happy Friday. Good Friday. And
It's
happy
Good
Easter.
Friday. Thank you so much. My name is Derrick, and this is my friend Kyler.
Hi,
Say hello.
how are you?
Hi, Rosa.
And do you say it with a Z sound, or is it Rosa or Rosa?
Rosa with an
Rosa.
S.
Awesome. And you are with DR Strings.
Yes.
So what we did was we just kind of pulled up your website, but we
Oh,
want you to tell us whatever you want to about DR Strings. We're trying to answer questions for people today. So
Okay.
just one of the things, why don't you just tell us about your strings and whatever you think we need to know about them?
First off, thank you for thinking of us and having us in your program today. So it's
Sure.
really exciting. So actually, this is my first Zoom for the music industry. So this is a lot of fun. So I
Cool.
appreciate it. So I want to say thank you. Well, first off, I don't know if a lot of people know, but the owner of the company, his dad was the founder of Guild Guitars. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, so that's the first thing I always like to mention because of the history. So it basically brings in the history along with the strings that we make right in New Jersey. Everything is handcrafted. We buy all the materials in the U.S. When we actually make the strings, everything is handled by using gloves. Everybody has to use gloves for protection of the strings. But everything's all handcrafted. We're known for our neon strings. We're very well known for our round core strings, our pure blues, electric, nickel plated on the round core, which is pure nickel on the round core. And then we came out with our latest for the bass string line is the pure blues, which is the quantum nickel. That bass set is doing really well. That's great for a musician that doesn't want to really play, that really loves the sound of the stainless steel, but likes that nickel feel. The stainless steel, as you guys know, can wear off the frets in time. So with the quantum nickel, you'll get that same bright stainless steel sound, but you have more of a smoother finish when you play on it.
And Kyler, go back to that screen. They use language that speaks to a bass player.
Yes.
Gets that fast, warm punch.
Yes, and majority of my clientele, I would say, is all bass players. They're very well known for bass. So I enjoy, and I have a lot of respect for the bass players because they taught me a lot about bass, and that's how I learned it from. So I have to give a shout out to the bass players.
Cool. Just a quick question. I see Victor Wooten on there. Is he a DR guy?
Yes, he is. Actually, that video that you see, the background, that's from our old factory. We just moved about 3 years ago. So to our new facility, but he came and visited us during Christmas time. and he did a performance for factory workers. It was
Cool.
really sweet of him.
By all accounts, he's a really genuine guy. So,
Oh yeah, he's
cool.
awesome. And
All
we,
right.
you
So
know,
I'm going to ask you about neon strings real quick.
oh yes, that's one of my favorite ones too.
Okay. My question is that a powder coating that makes the color? How do you get the different colors?
Well, we have a patent on the design. We came out with it, oh my God, I think now 8 years ago now. But it is a powder coating that protects the life of the string. We actually coat the wire first, and then we hand wind the strings.
Okay.
All
And
the
listen, I'm not trying to dig into the secrets.
No,
I played them before,
it's okay. You can ask
and they
me all
do
the questions.
feel different. That's why I'm asking.
Yes, they do feel a little bit different. There are some musicians that will say that when they play on it, that you do have that smooth finish. It's not a thick coating, it's a super thin coating that we apply on the wire. As far as the sound, from mixed reviews that we have gotten, first off is you do get a nice bright sound. And then the other review that was a mix was like, oh, this is a gimmick, and it's not a gimmick. You get a really nice full sound. You still have the brightness. It's not a plastic coating at all. I prefer saying it's like a porcelain sound because it has volume and clarity. But at first people thought it was like plastic coating, but it's not at all.
And I will tell you this, they look cool under UV light.
Oh my God, so attractive.
It's
A lot
fun.
of musicians will play it at the Grammys, Latin Grammys, any award shows. They've been getting a lot of airplay. There's one from the Latin Grammys, one of the students from Berklee College of Music. She performed with Alejandro Sanz, and she got so much video footage that Berklee College of Music liked it so much that they actually made this huge, enormous banner that hung up on the side of the college for almost 3-4 years but showing the neon strings.
Awesome. All right. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do for me real quick. We
Sure.
are, if I'm new to DR strings, and I'm talking about people that are watching or maybe asking questions. If I'm new to DR, what are your top sellers? What are your go-tos? If I need to walk in to get some 946, if I need to get, bass strings, what are the top sellers in the DR lines? I want to play around with all of them, but if I'm running in, grabbing the go-to DR strings, what are they?
Well, first off, I can pitch our top sellers, but it's really depending on the sound that the musician's looking for.
That's granted. I got it. You got me. That's right.
Every guitar is modified towards the musician. It's
Sure.
kind of like I'm into muscle cars, so I use muscle cars as a guitar.
All right.
Everything is
Pause.
You don't know.
Muscle
Yeah,
cars.
Yeah, I
Off
love muscle
topic.
cars.
What's your favorite?
All right, so I had a 77 Stingray Corvette and a Camaro. I'm into the small blocks with the 350. Love it. And I can go on with all the police chases, but I did really good on that, but everything's good.
All right.
I have a clean record.
All right,
So-
back to strings.
Yeah, back to strings. No, but we can all, as a salesperson, we can pitch you what the string does, but it's all in the mind of the musician, what really works for them,
In the hands. Right.
Right, and how their guitar is modified from how it's set up for the gauge, the pickups, just everything about the components in there too. So, but if I have to do like a blanket of our top seller, I mean, our number one seller is definitely our Pure Blues Electric. And I'm going to go by category. So we have the Pure Blues Electric. We have the DDTs, which is a phenomenal string. It's not only for drop down tuning, but it's also great for standing tuning. Any note that you play along the fingerboard stays consistent. So normally when you play a note, you always hear that wave that goes down and then it picks up again. But what happens is when the string plays and that pitch goes down, it loses its strength. If you can visualize it, it loses its strength to come back up. But if you use like for our DDTs or Veritas electric strings, that's also offered in acoustic, it keeps everything super well balanced when you hit that, because we actually have a pattern on the core. We actually fill in the imperfection throughout the core wire, and then we hand wrap it. And that is where the secret is with our DDTs and our Veritas, which is our the new coding that we did. But so going back to the electrics, we have the Pure Blues, the DDTs for drop down or standard tuning. You also have the fantastic neons for that brilliant sound, but also it looks really good on stage.
Right.
We are very popular with our Black Beauties, the black coated strings. So if you don't want the neons, you can go for the Black Beauties. We also have an exterior coating, which is our dragon skin, which we coat the outer wire first, and then we hand wind the string. So it's kind of like the clear coated version of the neon, if you don't want the colors. Then for acoustics, when we came out with Veritas, it really helped us open the category more. It wasn't our strongest, but now it's becoming our strongest because of our Veritas acoustic strings. And it's phosphor bronze over our patent technology of our coated string, the coated wire. Then for bass strings, you can't go wrong with any of our bass strings. They're number one and always been number one since 1989. That's when we were established. And that is our high beam stainless steel on a round core. That's number one. The next one is our Black Beauties. That's doing super well, along with our new Pure Blues quantum nickel bass strings. And then everything else is basically catered around what the musician's looking for. We have electric strings that start at 8 to 38, as heavy as a 13 to 65. We do make some custom sets for the musicians, like a baritone set, let's say. Acoustics, we can go as low as a 9 to 46, because we have a set that's called a Zebra, and it's an acoustic electric string. So every other winding, and as far as we know, we're the only ones that have this at this time, every other winding is nickel-plated phosphor, nickel-plated phosphor. And it's great for an acoustic guitar that has a magnetic or piezo pickup. And then bass strings, we can go as low as a 30 to a 90 into a 6-string bass set.
Cool.
Well, we did have a comment that come in, so I'm hoping you can help us with this.
Oh, okay. Bass player or guitar player?
Well, and that's what I don't know. I'm gonna assume guitar player.
Okay.
Brandon Alexander, and now this is the common thing that we deal with on the retail side.
Okay. Hi, Brandon.
And Brandon said coating wears off very, very quickly. He said it's not worth the money, just the looks. So I'm hoping that you could maybe help us address this.
Yeah,
because
of course.
I don't think coated strings are for everybody. So all that being said, we do agree with you, Brandon, but we want to give an educated reason why coating is actually a good thing. And it might not be for you.
Right. Coated strings is not for everybody. It could be the feel or the sound. But for what he was asking, as far as that the coating doesn't last long, I would assume that he's probably targeting around the picking area, which is a normal wear if you're playing with a pick. If you are using just your fingers, it's going to last longer. Now, just because it wears off around the picking area, depending on the length of time that you play. I mean, everybody plays either one time a week or once a month or several times a week. But it doesn't mean that the string is bad. You have to visualize it when you buy the coated strings, you're actually buying almost 2 sets in one. And how is that? Is because you have a coated string, and once the coating wears off, the string is still in good performance. That's the only thing, but it does wear off in time. But it all depends how many times you play or how often you play.
Right.
Well,
And
and
if-
I would assume.
go ahead, Connor.
I'm gonna say, and some of it I would think is how often you change your strings, because if you're changing them often, I don't think it's worth it to get a coated string because you don't get the use out of it.
I'm going to jump in and say that I think he's probably talking about color coding, and that's why he says it's a for the looks. I don't think he's saying the strings sound bad or go bad at any point. He's just, and I would again, Rosa, guess that we're talking about the pick point. I can't see it wearing off of the fretting area very quickly. But back to the same deal. It's not for everybody. It is what it is.
Yep, it's I just wanted to cover like the sound and where it wears off. And did I answer Brandon's question? Does he have another question I can help him with?
That's the only thing that he put. So I think
Well,
we addressed
well,
that.
thank you, Brandon, for trying our strings too. And just for that, definitely put it in the chat box what other set you would like to try, because I'll send you a free set just for giving us a shot on those color strings. So I'll be happy to send out another set for him that he wants to try
Yeah.
out.
Man, look
Well,
at you
and
go.
maybe like what you're talking about, maybe the pure blues would be a set that's more for him rather than having the neon set.
Yeah, I would say he can try. Well, first off, it depends what sound he likes. So I want to give him the time to look over our website and pick what he wants. Let him read through our website what really fits his sound, and then I'll send him that set for him.
Way cool, Rosa. I hope that does good for you too, Brandon. Then again, thanks for checking in with us. Anything else quickly that you want us to know about DR before we move along?
At the moment, I want to take the moment to thank all the dealers that have been also supporting us throughout this really difficult time. We've been operating limited staff while the personnel is working at home. So I really want to thank on behalf of DR Strings, all the dealers around the world for supporting us during this time. So without them, we wouldn't be here today. So that for me is important, and also to give out a shout out to all the first responders that have been helping us through the situation. That to me is more important than anything else to say.
Absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, it was great to meet you. I can't believe we haven't talked on the phone as long as you've been. I read your emails all the time. But
oh, thank you.
It's really nice to meet you, and thanks for taking time out of your day to talk to us about DR.
Yes, and also include in the email what Brandon would like to have, and also
absolutely.
Also the three of you that I see on the screen.
You're awesome.
All right, great. Have a great Easter.
It was
Thank
nice
you.
to meet you as well.
Thanks.
All right, Kyler, unshare that so I can control things.
No issue there. Well, that was cool.
That was cool. I love meeting new people, and she obviously knew what she was talking about. So it's a good deal. Well, Kyler, let's get back to me and you, and let's kind of the original thing that we wanted to do here was answer questions that people might have, like me, that aren't that familiar with all the package. We just get confused. There's so much to look at. There's so many different styles, and they answered so many great questions about tone and why you would go with this alloy for this particular tone. So I think that's awesome. And again, one thing I do enjoy about the Ernie balls is it's pretty easy to walk in and go, all right, regular Slinky's my middle ground. I can go super. I can go extra. It's easy to logically make in my mind which way I'm going with my strings.
Right. Well, and I would say for anyone that's watching, it can be confusing if you've never bought strings before and you walk in even somewhere like one of our stores, you might see 30 sets of different acoustic guitar strings over maybe 4 to 5 different brands. And I think it just gets confusing on what you can pick out.
Right. And that's kind of my point. So and we get this all the time, and we love everyone, and this is not a negative comment that I'm making. I'm just saying so many times we have people come in that said, "Hey, I need to get some guitar strings." And we're like, "Great." And we walk to the display with them. "What do you need?" "I don't have a clue. My husband sent me in here to buy these." Or, "I don't know. This is the first time I've changed them since I had the guitar, and it's been 30 years." So people, uh, it, it's funny too a little bit, but they're intimidated by that much choice.
Right.
So I just thought I'd run through with you real quick, and I don't want to make this, longer than it needs to be. If I am an average player, I play, once or twice a week for entertainment. I'm not saying necessarily I gig, but I just want to have good sounding strings. Is there a gauge or an alloy, and I'm going to say up front, we are not here today to say this string is the best string. We're not a brand. This is not what this is about. We're talking about what makes your guitar sound the way you want it to, what gauges and what alloys, and why would I choose that kind of thing. So I'm the average player. I'm not in a band. I just like to play for my grandkids or my wife, or I say everything from the male perspective, but you understand what I'm saying.
Sure. Well, and most people, would you say you're acoustic or an electric player?
Well, can we go either way?
Sure. I'll go
Obviously, if I'm sitting around the house, I'm probably playing acoustic.
Right. And I'd say that, acoustic guitar tends to be the guitar people have sitting around. Almost every family seems to have one guitar that they've had for whatever reason.
Right.
So if you're coming in for an acoustic, never have played before, you don't have a preconceived notion of what you're needing. So I think one of the first things you want is something that's going to play easy for you. Now, with guitar strings, you'll start hearing the word 11 gauge, 12 gauge, 13 gauge. We're not talking about shotguns. And that's actually thousandths of an inch is what we're referring to. So you're talking about 11 thousandths of an inch, because strings are pretty small. And, for me, someone that's starting off, I would get 11s. Doesn't matter what brand, but something that's in 11 gauge. And I think Joey was talking about it earlier. I think something that's 80/20 bronze. Because it's brighter, you're going to get, I think, a little more life out of the strings that way.
Let me ask you this. Again, switch it back out. Numbers make me go quiet. Not much does, but numbers will make me be quiet. Can you translate that to medium light, extra light?
Sure. And part of the problem is some brands call them differently. It's pretty typical that 13s are considered a medium gauge.
Okay.
12 gauge is light. 11 gauge is extra light. And then 10 gauge is custom light.
Okay. Some people would go medium light, extra
right.
light.
Well, and there are, like Elixir, they make some that are medium lights that I believe it's Taylor that uses them. They're 12 to 56. So it's like the low strings are what you would see with a medium set, but the high strings are what you would see with a light set.
Okay. And I'm going to make this statement because I just think we need to say, a lot of people, I think people become brand centric just because that's the brand they've heard of before.
Right. I mean, say if you've never played, you're going to ask the one person that plays guitar, what do they use?
Right. My point being is, I'm sure that there is another brand that makes as quality of a string. A lot of it is preference. A lot of it is how it feels. And once somebody has that in their brain, listen, I'm the same way. I play what I play because that's what feels good to me and what I've had the best experience with. I just want to make sure that somebody coming in for the first time doesn't think that they have to, and listen, sometimes packaging wins. That caught my eye. That's what I'm buying.
Well, and I mean, that's kind of like consumer retail. I mean, whatever catches your eye, that's what people gravitate towards. With what you're talking about, though, with, having a certain quality, I'm going to use Diodario, Martin, and Ernie Ball. Those are three pretty common brands. They all make non-coated acoustic strings, either in 80/20 bronze or phosphor bronze.
Okay.
Elixir is an example of a company that does not, I mean, the only string they make has coating on it.
Let me ask you this, and if our friend Kyle's watching, he needs to pop in on a chat. Mr. Kalinak does a lot more. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let's say, is any string lend itself to a genre or to a style? If I'm more of a jazz and I'm going to play clean all the time, am I looking for a certain alloy as opposed to if I am going to play country, as opposed to if I'm going to play, I don't think they make a string that says new with country twang. It's
Right. Well, and there's just certain commonalities. So I'm going to move to electric because that's where I think the differences with genres are more apparent. A typical electric guitar string is a round wound string that makes it easy to bend, which is kind of why they became so popular in the first place, that round wounds are really easy to bend. Well, if you're a jazz player, flat wounds, I think, are going to be what you're looking for.
okay. But when others, and listen, I'm trying to do some myth busting here at the same time. I am a bass player by trade, and you are painfully aware that I'm trying to transition into some acoustic rhythm and electric rhythm playing. And is it in my mind that I need to get a thicker gauge because I will bend everything because I'm so used to the tensile strength that it takes to play the bass versus, and that probably is something I need to work out on my own, because I see a lot of players look like they're just taking it easy and they sound awesome. So that may just be my bad playing. But is there any truth in your mind to a thicker gauge as a rhythm player, because they're going to be strumming more and holding that chord shape longer as opposed to somebody who might be doing more lead work?
No, given this is just my opinion, so I hope the internet doesn't kill me.
That's why I put it on you.
I think some of that is kind of myth as to where larger strings sound better, because I'll use myself as an example. I play on 10s and I play on 9s on certain guitars that I think fit that.
On electric. Right.
Correct, on electric. So if I go to 12s, well, they might sound better, but I'm not going to play any better because my hand strength can't handle 12s. I mean, I think there are certain things, jazz players tend to go for heavier strings, but then you hear, I mean, if you've ever heard Robin Ford or a guy like Mike Stern, they're kind of like jazz fusion players that play on light gauge strings and they sound great. So I don't, there is a certain thing with, if you have an archtop guitar with a larger string, I think you get the top of the guitar moving, which is what helps make a good sound. But kind of on an electric guitar where the acoustic sound is not as prevalent, you're just using the pickups more than you are, I think, the wood of the guitar. I don't know if it makes as big of a difference.
Okay. Now, they did talk about, and I remember Joey saying this, that a lot of times certain alloys bring out more of the mid or the mid lows. Is that something that gauge affects as well in your mind?
Definitely it can. I mean, heavier strings, you do get more lows and low mids, but that doesn't always necessarily mean it sounds better.
There's always that qualifier, isn't there? Doesn't mean it's going to sound better.
It's just kind of the mix of your guitar and however you're plugging in. If you're using an amplifier going direct, a lot of lows is not a good thing. If you ask a mixing engineer, they're not going to want a lot of lows because it makes it harder to mix a clean sound.
It's woofy or muddy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, man, what's another question that we get all the time? People walking in the store that, and listen, this is just how it is. We will never say, why are you asking me that question? If you've ever, quick off a rabbit trail real quick, had some Disney training, they say the number one question that people ask that you have to learn to train yourself not to be surprised by is, what time does the 3:00 parade start? That's actually the question. What time does your 3:00 parade start? Well, they're answering their own question, but they're just uncomfortable and they're nervous and they're excited and they don't know. So never think there's a question that we're going to go, seriously? We want you to have the best experience you can have. But Kyler, are there any others that you can think of that's kind of a common question that we could take care of before we get out of here?
I mean, sure. I think we kind of glanced over it, but when you have people ask, um, I want my guitar to have this particular sound. What string do I need to use to get there? And that could be, a beginner that's wanting something that maybe it's hard to describe. So, I mean, we could kind of talk about some of the ways that we translate stuff. Sometimes people say a guitar sounds too tinny. Well, in order to do something that's opposite of that, if you have a bright sounding guitar, you want a dark sounding string to balance it. I mean, I don't know if you can think of any specific examples like that maybe the answer's not obvious from the question.
No, I get it, and I'm going to jump back because it's kind of the same thing for me. I get very frustrated, and it's probably because I play too heavy, but I have a hard time keeping a 9 gauge on an electric in tune. I have a really hard time keeping one. I mean, I run through the tuner, I do everything like I'm supposed to. As soon as I start playing, I'm like, God, that does not sound in tune. Some of that I understand is my ability, my bad technique on the fretboard. I get all that. But at the same time, if I put a heavier gauge on, I seem to play in tune better. Is that a product of the way I play versus anything necessarily to do with the string?
If you have a brand new set of strings on, then that's more technical ability. Now, there is a certain thing. I mean, you do want to replace strings pretty often. Now, here's actually a good example. We've had some people that have come in, they said, well, I've had these strings on there for about 1.5 years, but my guitar isn't staying in tune like it used to.
Okay.
And that's a common thing. And it's not that we're making fun of you, but it's one of those things where
I kind of was for 1.5 years.
Right. Well, the answer is in the question, and it's, strings are not meant to last forever. Even coated strings are not meant to last more than a few months.
Okay, but now let's flip that coin over. A lot of people want a hard, fast rule. How often should I change my strings? And I think the answer to that is probably not duration, but maybe characteristics of the strings. If they're starting to get rusted looking, if they're starting to, I'll let you answer. I'm supplying, sure. I'm leading in the questioning.
There's a few different factors in that. I think, first of all, how often are you playing? If you're playing every day and let's say you're performing 2 or 3 times a week, well, that puts more wear on your strings than just playing at home, because maybe you're sweating while you're playing, or if you're performing, ideally you're putting in a lot of effort, right?
Right.
On the other hand, strings, I think, can only last a certain period of time. There's a certain shelf life once you take the strings out of the package and put them on the guitar.
Right. Once you start stretching things, physics takes over.
Right. So I think for me, well, and even if you open them and never put them on, just the fact that yeah, exactly. I mean, I think even the best coated string on a light-handed player that doesn't play that often, maybe say an hour or 2 each night, just kind of practicing, or, say if you're playing while watching TV, you might could get 3 months out of them.
By the way, I just want to shout out George Rangel. It's nice to see you, sir. Yes, it will be available later.
Perfect. And that's for a coated string. I would say like a non-coated string, a month is going to be, in my opinion, about the lifetime of a string like that.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to tell on myself a little bit. I don't change my bass strings near as often as I change my 6-string, my guitar, my electric guitar, or my acoustic. Number one, there's a cost involved. I tend to take care of my strings. I clean them, and I'd like you to address that real quick. Sure. I don't want to go too long. Okay. We're probably pushing the limit right now, but, I take care of my instrument and the strings as part of that instrument better than I think a lot of people do. And listen, that's part of the rock and roll lifestyle. I get it. Chunk it in the gig bag, throw it in the bus, off we go. But
sure,
does that affect string life?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and here's the thing. It's not like what we're telling you is a 20-minute process. If you're someone that has any sort of acidic hands. I mean, we all have acidic hands, just to what degree. All you need to do is wipe off your strings after you play them.
Before you put it away, clean it up.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And that, you know, I think that's about the extent of what you can do to elongate the life of your strings. I mean, there's not really a whole lot out there other than just changing your strings and keeping away from humidity.
Here's a fun one, and I have friends, and I'm teasing them without using their name, but I have friends that swear if you put when you have a set of strings, you take them off, put your new set on. If you'll take the old strings, put them in the freezer, you'll get more. They'll be alive again for a while. You can get more life out of them.
Right.
Fact or fiction?
I don't know. I mean,
You never tried it?
I never tried. I've heard of boiling bass strings. I think Jeremy James. I doubt he's watching right now.
Quit calling him out.
He's probably working, which is a good thing. But he's the one that told me about boiling bass strings. But it's like if you do that, it's not like you're getting 100% back. It's like you're getting 50 or 60% of the life.
But you
back.
have an emergency set if you needed them.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't tried it with guitar strings though. I don't know if it's worth it for guitar strings because the cost is quite a bit of difference.
Sure. Okay, man. Well, I do want to say this. I realize that we are closed right now to the public, and that's why we have the time to do something like what we're doing right now. But we do have our, Rick, you can correct me. I think we have the vast majority of our string selection online. Now, I don't know that we have, like a banjo, mandolin, or ukulele string online yet. Rick, yes, no?
Yes, we do.
I'm very sorry. Then we do. Awesome. And how do we get to that, my friend? We just go to the shop online and it says guitar accessories, right?
All right. I'm going to show you. If you go to
Okay,
our
cool.
website, if you go to our website, yeah,
Perfect.
if you go to our website, and up here in the top, you can hit this buy online button, or you can actually hit this online shop button.
Looks like Georgia internet's as fast as ours. All right, so we do have it set up for guitar, bass, drums, and keyboard all in one tab.
And maybe that's something while you're pulling that up that we should mention. We don't carry just guitar strings. A lot of people don't know that we carry, bajo strings, if that's something that you play. We carry mandolin strings, ukulele strings. I think we've even had some vihuela strings before.
Right, we can get whatever we need. We work with a lot of companies and they all have the. So he went into that tab and it splits it out by guitar, bass, or acoustic. Rick, I don't know if you muted or if you're intentionally muted.
Yeah, if you click on the guitar accessories, this is where you're going to find your guitar strings. You might have to scroll here. There is a search button up here at the top that you could go to and search for exactly what you're looking for. But once you get in here, we do have the Elixir strings, Diodario's, pretty much the Ernie balls at this point right now.
Right, well, it looks like we need to get our DRs in there too.
Yeah, we do need to get those in.
I'll get you that list.
So, yep, that's how you get there.
Excellente, my friend. Unshare me.
Well, before we leave, I just want to tell everybody on Facebook, if you have any comments, please put them on here before we close today, because I think we're getting towards the end of our presentation. So let us know if you have any questions.
I was about to make one of those awesome statements that I thought I was helping, but I didn't see Martin strings in there, and then I realized we are not probably going to sell that many Martin electric strings. I don't know that they even make electrics, but they're probably all in the acoustics.
That's correct.
So, awesome. All right, man. Well, if you guys have any other questions that you didn't get to ask or didn't get to, we appreciate you showing up. Leave us a question there. This is going to be online. One thing I'm going to say before I leave, WG is WG Inspections. It's my son, Cody. If you're selling, if you're buying a house, it's kind of a turbulent time. He's glad to help. He can make things easy. WG Inspections, find him online. He'll help you out there. Kyler, thanks for your time, man.
No problem. I was trying to see if there was any comments that came up, but I haven't seen anything.
Perfect. Rick, appreciate all your help as always.
Thank you.
All right, man. Everybody wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Do your social distancing. We will prevail. We'll get through it together. We care about you. Contact any of us. We have 4 locations, Midland, Odessa, Abilene, and Aledo. Any of those locations, glad to help you with any questions you might have. Until we talk to you again, we got some other things in the work. Going to talk about pedals. Going to look at some other different things relating to guitar. Also want to switch that over to PA, do some of that. We will get back to that quick. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. Everybody have an awesome day.